I'm your host, Doreen Steenland, and today we're going to be speaking with Ray Woolridge. I'd love to start our conversation today talking about enemy mode. What is this enemy mode? And yeah, just jump right in and let us know.
About 30 years ago, Dr. Jim Wilder, who's my co-author on the book, began studying in detail this phenomenon he noticed where people would not be connecting with the people around them. And you could turn on the charm for a win, you could turn on the charm to win somebody over to your cause, but often there wasn't a heart connection, a relational connection. And he suspected something was happening in the brain of these people. He suspected there also were some gaps in their maturity. We all know that human development starts, at birth, obviously, well, before birth, but it's the bond between mother and baby is so important.
Yes.
And then bring dad into the picture. And if that is a joy-based, secure attachment, then those children are going to feel loved and feel valued and then have some skills that maybe some of the rest don't get. We also know that abandoning children or neglecting children or feeding them but not emotionally connecting to them will cause problems later in life and challenges. And so along the way, Wilder discovered the work of Dr. Alan Shore at UCLA. During the decade of the brain, Shore and many others were studying what brain structures were actually doing. And for the first time, they could view brains in living human beings. And so what was the thalamus at the deep brain level right above the brainstem doing, and what did it do for human beings? What do the amygdalas do? What is the cingulate cortex doing at the mental banana? And then the right prefrontal cortex and the left prefrontal cortex. Jim realized that enemy mode actually is a malfunction. It is a failure of synchronization between the left and right hemisphere of the brain. And so even though your left hemisphere is really good at explaining what's happening and providing solutions to problems, your left hemisphere will be so over focused it will often miss the emotional and relational signals coming from the right hemisphere. And oh, by the way, the right hemisphere is the master control center. It runs faster than the left hemisphere, and your body will be sending you signals and you ignore them at your peril. And Wilder determined, and I joined the project late, that actually we can be disconnected relationally because of a brain malfunction. And so, but there are things you can do to bring the right hemisphere on, left and right hemisphere in synchronization, and you can stay relational under great stress. So that's a really windy. So enemy mode is a brain malfunction where you're not connecting to the people around you. And we also found there are 3 patterns of enemy mode that I can talk about as we go.
Yeah. This is so fascinating, and the advancement of fMRI has allowed us to actually look at real-time images of this to see which areas are lighting up of the brain. And I love what you're saying in the work of Dr. Alan Shore. And I'm a fan of Dr. Daniel Siegel also.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he explains it a little bit differently, using maybe the window of tolerance as his metaphor. But anyway, what I want to focus on is this whole enemy mode concept, and how do we know that we're in enemy mode?
Well, when we view the people around us as a problem to solve, when we're not interested, in their point of view, we lose curiosity in them. When we don't appreciate them, I'm talking about people that we ordinarily would appreciate and be happy to be with. If we're not happy to be with them, if we're not making eye contact with them, and if our kindness has gone. So, and of course, that could be on the Jersey Turnpike. It could be in the subway. It could be walking down the street in Manhattan. But it could be with perfect strangers. But the most reliable thing is, if you're no longer curious, if you're not appreciative of them, if you're not kind anymore, and you're not making eye contact, those are good indicators, because
Okay.
you're viewing them as a problem to solve, as someone to fix. That's an enemy mode reaction, actually.
Okay, so I see people then in enemy mode all the time. So does that mean we've all got brain malfunctions?
I think at times we all have brain malfunctions, but I also think that some of us this is just the way we've always been. And this is what we saw modeled as kids. And this is what got results as we grew.
Mhm.
And yet there's a better way.
Yeah.
So, and it requires paying attention to your body and a lot of other things. So,
So let's talk about these three types of enemy mode before we get to the better way, because I want
okay.
to.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's three patterns, and I'm going to start with the one that everybody recognizes, and we call it stupid enemy mode.
Yeah.
We have all seen that person losing it.
Yeah.
It could be on the phone, it could be in public. And this is that moment when everybody wants to get their cell phone out and record this and post it to the internet, post it to social media, because and usually alcohol and drugs might be involved. Sometimes strong words are used, and you're going to do damage to people that you value and to property that you value. And it's a very high energy moment. Now, what's happening in the brain, and I don't have time to explain all of it, and we take a whole chapter to explain what's going on in the brain, but it's an overload. The circuits are overloaded, and your capacity cannot handle the stimuli. And what a brain in stupid enemy mode needs is to quiet down. All right, so that's stupid enemy mode. Everybody gets that. Now, simple enemy mode. Simple enemy mode is when you just don't look for a relational connection because you've concluded, maybe from early in life, that the people around you are not on your side.
Mhm.
They're not for you, and they're not going to connect with you at a heart level. So you just stop looking, and your life becomes all about the mission or the task.
Mhm.
And yes, you would make eye contact with people, but it's always a task-oriented, transactional kind of thing. And so you stop looking for relational connection. And of course, along the way, you may notice that nobody wants to be with you unless we're doing stuff together. And it may feel lonely, but you say to yourself, let's just get back to work. And simple enemy mode is a very low energy
Mhm.
thing.
Okay.
So the brain is not expending a whole lot of energy because there's nothing going on. And so, and you see this one manifested all the time. Let's say a husband is working from home and his wife, with whom he has a wonderful relationship, comes into the office to ask him a simple question that'll just take him a couple of minutes. He looks up at her in annoyance and basically says, "I'm sorry, I don't have time. I got to work."
Uh,
And he might truly have to accomplish some tasks, rather than taking a moment to get his relational brain engaged, taking a breath and, hey, I really want to hear what you say, and I've got a minute. How can I help? And making at least a very brief relational connection with her. I used to do this when I have lived a lot of my life in simple enemy mode.
okay.
And here's how I would manage that. And I've seen medical professionals do the same thing. I've seen people in the military do the same thing. I'd be in my office working on my computer, and someone would knock on my door and they'd want to come in and ask me a question. And they would stick their head in. And rather than turning to face them and give them my full attention and look them in the eyes, right? And maybe say a greeting, I would keep my hands on the keyboard, keep my body posture towards the computer, and just kind of look over my shoulder. And what I'm communicating to them is, I don't have time for you.
Yes. Oh,
Even though
guilty is charged, I have to
yeah,
say. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I've been there.
And that's a simple enemy mode
Yeah.
response to get some out of your space. Because, and you might have a very crushing deadline. You might have an email you have to send in the next 15 minutes,
Yeah.
but there's a more relational way to handle that.
Yes.
Now, here's the creepy one that was hard to understand.
Mhm.
We talked about simple, we talked about stupid. Let's talk about intelligent enemy mode.
Okay.
Intelligent enemy mode is all about the win.
Mm.
Intelligent enemy mode is very emotionally intelligent. Intelligent enemy mode recognizes emotional cues from the people around, but uses those cues to push the right buttons to get the results that are needed. Okay.
Okay.
Intelligent enemy mode has emotional intelligence, but no attachment and no compassion.
Wow.
So how is it that we can fire people and not feel the weight of what we had to do? How is it that we can, and I've seen pastors do this, if someone's no longer on mission with them and no longer believing in what they're doing, they'll just throw them under the bus, metaphorically.
Yeah.
And they'll go to bed at night and not feel anything about what they did. Well, it's probably an enemy mode, intelligent enemy mode reaction. I've seen this in the military. There's no connection, there's no compassion. It's all about the mission, and I'm going to drive you and make you do this stuff. And it doesn't matter if we like each other or not, or want to be with each other or not, but there's no relational connection.
Wow. Wow. I think that we've all experienced either a portion of that or we've seen it in action.
Mm-hmm.
So as we talk about this enemy mode, how can we escape it? First of all, let's camp there for a second. How can we escape this enemy mode if we notice that we're in the middle of it?
Well, that's where it starts. Actually, our book has 12 chapters, and we spend the first 6 demonstrating that these patterns are real, and they're not just recent, and they're ancient. We go back to history. Now, I'll tell your audience, because they're medical professionals, so they're scientists.
Yes.
There's not a lot of good studies.
Yeah.
The thing is, you can't do a MRI and an EEG at the same time in the same room. But if you could understand a little better, because you've got to both look at brain waves, but you also have to look at which areas of the brain are lighting up. And one device is good at measuring one, and the other is, but they can't be in the same room and coexist. And we talk about that in the book. So the studies have yet to be done. Maybe the technology doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
But the first step is knowing this is a phenomenon that affects every human being.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you notice it in yourself? And so the simple acronym, our friend Chris Corsi, who's also speaking at your event, came up with this acronym, CAKE. If I'm no longer curious about the other person, if I don't have appreciation for them, if I'm not being kind right now, and if I won't make eye contact, I'm probably in enemy mode. I'm being non-relational. Okay. So that's one thing. Now, the other thing is, what is your body telling you? So you might be having a wonderful, joy-filled day, happy to be with the people around you, and then you get that one text or that one email, and it hits your last nerve, and all of a sudden you are in fight or flight is maybe kicking in, and it could be that your heart rate is elevated, your vision is narrowing, you just want to go hide somewhere. Your body is flooding you with endorphins, telling you things, and paying attention to that's real important. And what do you need to do to reset yourself in that moment? Now, I have found, for me, paying closer attention to my body, knowing what my body's telling me, and taking some good deep breaths. Breath is real important.
Yeah.
So when you recognize it, to begin the escape, you first need to pay attention to your body and do some deep breathing. You might need to take a walk. You might need to remind yourself of what you appreciate about the person who just brought you bad news. You know, and these are things that can begin, and it takes a little time. Ideally, in 90 seconds, we should be able to return to a space where we can be relational and be happy to be together as we work on a difficulty.
Yeah. So what I love about what you're saying is that this doesn't mean that it's positive thinking and everything is okay and there's no difficulties and we're sweeping it under the rug. It means that we're working as a team on to solve the problem instead of fighting against each other, basically.
That's right. That's right. And recognizing that you have a certain pattern. So each of us, because of our experience, will go certain places under pressure.
Yes.
So those of us more prone to simple enemy mode will tend to withdraw relationally. And we won't make eye contact. We'll just do our stuff.
Yeah.
And even though people around us are looking to attach during the day, and you can see that light in their eyes where they want to talk to you, you
Mm.
won't give them the time of day. And that makes them feel cold and unheard. Other people will be, they'll just lose it. And they'll start cursing or they'll start yelling. And that happens in professional settings as well.
Yes.
Other people, though, are quietly running in the background, always maneuvering.
Mhm.
And so recognizing what your tendency is and knowing what it takes to get back to a relational space. Now, one good practice that anyone could do is have a journal, and for 30 days, every day, write down something that you are thankful for.
Mm.
Now, but I want to add an additional step, because a lot of people do this on social media. 3 things you're thankful for today, and it's considered positive thinking, and it's considered, it's really just very shallow just to do that. Well, but if you add this element, what is your body feeling in that memory? Okay,
Mm.
because you're retraining your right hemisphere and you're calming down your amygdala. If you can go to a place of appreciation, your relational brain is waking up.
Yeah.
So it could start with, man, this cup of coffee sure is good. I just feel really peaceful and cozy right now. Oh, wow, wasn't that game last night so fun last night? And we are all watching it together, and we just were excited, but glad to be together.
Mm.
And so for 30 days, write these things down. Now, let's say at the end of the 30 days, you're still journaling, but a real upsetting thing happens and you're losing it. And one of the patterns of enemy mode is kicking in. One of the ways to escape is to do some deep breathing, but then remember some of those memories.
Yeah.
Just for a few seconds. Yeah, this really is terrible right now, but I remember this, that, the other thing, and you have this catalog of gratitudes, things you are thankful for that will help you return to yourself, help your left and right hemisphere get back online with one another.
I love that because really, what we're doing is talking about rewiring your brain, making new pathways that are stronger, and developing a toolbox that we can call on at any point.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
So
right.
having all of these memories of gratitude and actually allowing yourself to feel it. I think
Hmm.
there's a
Hmm.
disconnect there with a lot of people, Ray. I
Yeah.
think that especially in the medical profession, we see a lot of tragedy,
Yeah.
right? We see a lot of hard things, and we often stuff our feelings, thinking that they're not helpful, and so we don't make those connections easily. Do you have any other tips that we might call on? I love the fact of reaching into the visual portion of your brain and calling on those memories. That
Hmm.
brings you right over to the right side, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it
What?
does. I would say, so I'm thinking about doctors and nurses right now.
Yeah.
Um, your viewers can't tell, but I don't have a left ear.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's from a 7-year battle with melanoma from 2008 to a 6-year battle with melanoma from 2008 to 2014. So I spent a lot of time with medical professionals,
Yes.
surgeons, oncologists, and nurses and nurse practitioners.
Mhm.
And I have found that some of the best, most empathetic professionals that helped me made a relational connection with me, even though we were only going to be together for a few minutes. And over time, we built a relationship that was, and I found when they would look me in the eye and when they would obviously not be distracted, they would give me their full attention. That felt really good. Okay. Now, if doctors and nurses could learn to do this, and I'm going to reveal my bias here. In my view, nurses as a group are better at this than doctors as a group. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I don't want to insult our doctors, but I think nurses tend to be a little better at it than doctors. So we all could be better at it, though. I'm not very good at it myself.
Yeah.
But so if you have your catalog of back to your question though, your catalog of 30 days of appreciation memories. All right. Then find a person that you are with every day. Now, this could be your spouse. It
Mhm.
may not be able to be your spouse. They may not go there with you, but it could be your sister, your brother, your coworker, a good friend at work, your work husband or your work wife,
Yeah.
who you have a good connection with at work, and study enemy mode together, and then give each other permission to call each other out.
Mm.
So one of the best practices, and Jim Wilder does this with the group that he's in, I do this with my wife, is they confess enemy mode to one another. Hey, I think I'm in enemy mode with that customer service rep that I just talked to about my mortgage payment. I
Mm.
think I'm in enemy mode with that barista at the coffee shop. I think I'm in enemy mode with, and they just tell, they're honest with one another. And then they help each other return to their relational self. And so, and take that a step further, you have permission when you notice me going into enemy mode to call me out, to take me aside. Hey, um, I think you're in enemy mode right now. Go take a walk, take some breaths, take a break, and let's re-engage. We're all going to, all of us have, all of us need more capacity. All of us our capacity limits can be exceeded.
Mhm.
And so we all need coping mechanisms in the moment so that we can stay relational. Because frankly, if you're just leading and interacting from your left hemisphere, it's like you're leaving half of your brain on the table, right? So, and we're designed, so your body's telling you things, and so pay attention to it. So I would say taking breaks is real important. Remembering appreciation is real important. But I would also say having a person that you trust who knows for you, who could, if they see it in you, to call it out. Now, in a clinic, on a hospital, it could be the nurse you work with all the time. It could be a fellow physician. There's a colleague. Uh, it's now you got to be vulnerable. It's kind of scary to do this because
Yes.
none of us want to show our weaknesses.
Right.
But I have found that actually one of the most empathetic connections that I can have is when I'm meeting with somebody and they're telling me some bad news and they're actually moved emotionally by it as well.
Yeah.
That is so healing and comforting to see a few tears in their eyes also. To see the gravitas with which they're delivering this news, and they're carrying it very heavily. And I've gotten some bad news from docs. I've
Yeah.
gotten some good news. I'm symptom free the past 8 years. And we're very thankful for that.
Right.
But anyway, so I
Yeah.
think having someone who will help you is real important.
I love this relational vulnerability, really, is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And first of all, I just want to take a moment and say I'm sorry about all you've been through. I did not know that. And I just want to take a moment to say that. And I want to highlight the importance that you're hearing here, um, to connect with your patients. They
Mm,
need you. They need you in those darkest days to connect with them, right? And
yeah,
relate to them.
that's right. Exactly. It was the melanoma battle, and it was my wife deciding she didn't want to live with regrets, and she started speaking up about how I had made her feel.
Wow.
And so I began studying emotional intelligence, and then I started realizing how I had made her feel and started owning it more. And we're still on a journey,
Well, I think
but
we all are, right? And
yeah,
and the self-awareness part is the first step, right? So what we're talking about here is becoming aware of your patterns,
yeah,
becoming aware of how you react and what your buttons are,
mhm,
so that you can then return to a place where you're relational and not battling with everyone in your path.
yeah. There's a beautiful story in the book Rare Leadership, and it's written by Marcus Warner and Jim Wilder.
Mhm.
And they use the term enemy mode in there, but that book was written 6 years ago. But it talks about a medical unit that the morale was terrible.
Mm.
And the head nurse who ran that unit, charge nurse, I suppose, just were kind of led with fear and dominating her people. Well,
Mm.
that's an enemy mode way to lead.
Yes.
And they were not happy to be together, and every mistake was called out, and it was not a happy place to be.
Mm.
She started learning about how to stay relational and how to connect with her team and how to return to joy after. And joy simply means we're happy to be together.
Yeah.
And it's making that relational connection and working through problems. And we're going to have problems in the workplace.
Sure.
But there's a way to work on those problems relationally. I like to talk about the relational sandwich. We're going to have a tough conversation right now, but I really appreciate you, and I'm thankful that we're in this together, and we've worked well together in the past. I know we will in the future. Now, yesterday something happened, and this is the way what I observed from you, and I don't understand how you could treat that patient that way or respond to a colleague in that way. And so you have an honest dialogue relationally. And then at the end of the conversation, you say, and I'm thankful for you, and I look forward to working with you in the future. And I hope, let me know how I can help. So you keep it relational, right?
Right.
I've not been very good at that in my career, both as a military officer and as a pastor. I'm better at it now than I've ever been. So.
Awesome. Wow. So as we wrap up, are there any last minute nuggets that you would like to give to these professionals?
We have a lot of stories in our book about people escaping enemy mode. So we have workplace stories. We've got two coaches at a Division II NCAA volleyball program who just weren't enjoying their coaching anymore after 15 years, and they had a winning program, but that something was missing, and they got a leadership coach to help them. And she taught them about enemy mode and staying relational with their players and with each other. And the joy they have together now is way more than it was in the past. And the program is still winning.
Wow.
Even Coach K at Duke realized that after many decades of success, he was not connecting with his players, and he had to make some adjustments.
Yeah.
So we also talk to police officers in the book,
Mm-hmm.
and we believe that staying relational will make you more effective at any staying relational. Escaping enemy mode will make you more effective. Now, another nugget I would tell your our listeners is so escape yourself. Get someone to help you escape who notices. The other thing is build a group identity of your team that basically says we are people who stay relational with one another. We are not people who go into enemy mode. And so, we're really good in professional settings about having a mission and vision and values. And, every hospital I've ever been in has that stuff plastered all over the
Yes.
place. And it's kind of like, yeah, we've got them because we've got to have them because that's what our investors expect of us, yada, yada. But really, it's just kind of eyewash, and it doesn't really go too deep unless we talk about what kind of people we are and what kind of people we're not. So yeah, we're a people who care about our patients. So we're also people who don't go into enemy mode with our patients.
Yes.
We're a people who care about our patients and our team, and so we're happy to be together, and we help each other be our best selves.
Yeah.
So because really to escape, you cannot do this on your own. You need someone to help you, but you also need a group around you. I could see the principles in this book being in every doctor's office, in every police department, in every sports team in America, because it will transform our ability to stay human with each other and to stay relational with one another.
Wow. That was a nugget there. We need to stay human, right? We are humans first. We might be doctors, nurses,
Yeah,
PAs, nurse practitioners, but we are human first.
that's
And
right.
not lose sight of that.